What happens when the world's most passionate car maker deliberately murders its own soul? You don't just lose a vehicle, you lose a legacy. You lose an absolute icon. An engineer straight out of Turin recently leveled a devastating critique at the newly unveiled Ferrari Luce. Now, he didn't just target the aerodynamics. He didn't just complain about battery range. No, he diagnosed a total, fatal collapse of brand identity. He looked at the pinnacle of Italian motoring and saw nothing but a hollow shell. Look, the evidence really starts with a debadging exercise. It's a simple, brutal test of automotive purity. You basically strip a car of its famous logo and ask yourself, is this core design still instantly recognizable? Because a true masterpiece speaks for itself. But if you strip the prancing horse off the Luce, the Italian flair just completely vanishes. You're left with a sterile, lifeless appliance. The exact phrasing this engineer uses to describe this hollowed-out design is just jarring. He calls it a BYD on expired steroids, or a Toyota Prius knockoff. I mean, those are heavy, unapologetic words in the exotic automotive world. The aggressive curves that once defined pure, unfiltered passion, they are simply gone. So how did we get here? How does a brand built on roaring engines and track dominance end up looking like a rolling smart device? Well, the answer is hiding right there in the design team. The Lucid was brought to life by a former iPhone designer. That uncanny resemblance to sterile tech hardware isn't a coincidence. It is by design. And man, this contrast just paints a painful picture. Look at the undisputed masterpieces, the 288 GTO, the F40, the Enzo. These machines literally bleed Italian passion. They look violently fast even when they're sitting absolutely still. Then you look at the Luce. It's a sterile, appliance-like slab that looks way more like an oversized computer mouse than a hypercar. It doesn't roar, it merely hums. But you see, this isn't just an isolated mistake. It's a deeply disturbing trend. The engineer actually identifies this symptom as the curse of the black strip. If you look closely at recent models across their lineup, you see this prominent, ugly black band disrupting the body lines. It cuts right through the visual flow. It's a calculated design choice, sure, but it feels entirely foreign to the brand's historic language. Now, of course, the spec sheet tells a very different story. 1,000. That is the horsepower this machine delivers through 4 independent electric motors. It is violently fast, and it is technologically supreme. But power without purpose is just a number. All this raw electric acceleration lacks a single, solitary drop of soul. In fact, this departure from emotional engineering is so severe that our Turin engineer refuses to even call the car by its real name. He mockingly renames it the Truche. And if you know Italian slang, that roughly translates to something terrible, something poorly made, something completely fake. It is a devastating insult directed at the absolute pinnacle of automotive excellence. Which brings us to a massive, incredibly uncomfortable question. Is this just an accident, or are we looking at industrial sabotage? Because you don't just magically forget how to design a beautiful car after 70 years of doing it better than anyone else on the planet. The financial theory here is pretty dark, suggesting that this tragic loss of identity is actually a highly calculated move. The engineer presents a deeply provocative theory of a controlled decline. Just look at the timeline. Year 1, insiders introduce uninspiring, polarizing designs. Year 2, they actively strip away the core brand identity. Year 3, traditional buyers revolt, completely tanking the stock price. And by year 4, the company is fundamentally devalued, totally priming it for a hostile, discount buyout by wealthy investors just waiting in the shadows. It really forces us to step back and look at the brutal reality of this machine. Who would actually pay 550,000 euros for an appliance? I mean, when the badge is just a sticker on a soulless piece of tech, what are you really buying? The passion is bleeding out right in front of us. The only question left is, will anyone step in to stop it?